Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to decode the timeless laws of power, but for your workplace. We're talking about taking ancient wisdom and turning it into a playbook you can use to get ahead.
So let's start with this. Ever get that feeling, you know the one, where you're putting in all the hours, you're doing great work, but somehow other people are just getting ahead? It's like they're playing a completely different game, right? A game where you were never handed the rulebook.
Well, that brings us to a really fascinating idea. The game of power, it hasn't really changed at all. The same dynamics that played out in the courts of ancient kings, they're happening right now, in your office, in your meetings, even over Slack.
So what we're going to do today is use a classic guide on power to basically give you that unwritten rulebook. This is for anyone who doesn't just want to play the game at work, you want to win it.
All right, let's get right into it. The single most important relationship you have at work, it's with your boss. And this goes way beyond just, doing what you're told. It's about actively managing that relationship.
This is law number one, and honestly, it might be the most important one of all. It's a really delicate dance, and trust me, so many people have learned this lesson the hard way, both in history and, in their annual performance reviews. The goal is to impress your boss, not make them feel insecure.
And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Look at these two stories. On the one hand, you've got this guy, Nicolas Fouquet, France's finance minister. He throws this insanely lavish party, right? So lavish, it makes his boss, King Louis XIV, look bad. The result? Arrested the very next day. Ouch. Then you have Galileo. He doesn't just announce his discovery of Jupiter's moons. No, he dedicates it to his patrons, the Medici family, basically saying, your greatness is reflected in the stars. See the difference? Fouquet's brilliance landed him in prison. Galileo's got him a raise and a fancy title.
So how do you actually do this? It's pretty simple, really. Next time you're in a meeting and you're talking about a win, give your boss a little credit, even if the idea was all you. Say something like, building on that great point you made last week, I was able to. It doesn't take anything away from your achievement. What it does is make you look like a brilliant, supportive team player who isn't a threat, and that is invaluable.
Okay, so we've talked about managing up. Now, let's talk about managing sideways. This is all about your coworkers, the people who are your peers, maybe your friends, and, your rivals.
Okay, this one sounds a little cynical, I know, but it's actually just super practical. Think about it. In a competitive office, hiring a friend can get complicated. Envy creeps in, things get weird. The hard truth is that competence and shared goals often make for a much more stable alliance than just, being friends.
And history gives us a perfect, if brutal, example of this. You had Emperor Michael III, who takes his best friend, a guy who used to be a stable boy, Basilius, and just showers him with power and wealth, gives him everything. But did that create unbreakable loyalty? Nope. All that generosity just lit a fire of ambition under Basilius, who eventually turned around and murdered the very friend who gave him his start.
So the lesson for us, here in the modern office, is crystal clear. When you're putting a team together, pick people based on their skills and what you both have to gain, not just because you like hanging out with them. A former rival who you bring on board, they have a lot to prove and can end up being your most loyal ally. So keep your friends for after-work drinks, but in the office, work with the competent.
Okay, so we've talked about your boss, we've talked about your coworkers. Now let's talk about the most important person in this whole equation, you. How you control your own image, what you say and what you don't say, this is absolutely crucial.
Just 3 little words. I shall see. But for King Louis XIV, the famous Sun King, these were maybe the most powerful words in his entire arsenal. Picture this. His ministers would come to him, begging for favors, making their case, and he'd just sit there, listen, and say, I shall see. That's it. This strategic silence was his secret weapon. It drove everyone crazy. They got nervous, and they'd start talking and talking, trying to fill the quiet, and in the process, they'd reveal all their plans, all their weaknesses, all without him having to say a thing.
And you can totally use this. In your next big meeting, just try it. Fight that urge to jump in and fill every little pause. Just listen. Let other people do the talking. What you'll find is that when you finally do speak, your words have way more weight. Your silence gives you this aura of authority. Plus, hey, it's impossible to say something stupid if you don't say anything, right?
And this idea of silence and control flows right into our next point, which is so important, your reputation. It is, without a doubt, your most valuable asset at work. It's the thing that walks into the room before you do.
I mean, this story is just incredible. This famous general, Zhuge Liang, saved his entire city from a massive army. How? By just sitting on the wall, totally exposed, playing a lute. The enemy general, Sima Yi, knew Liang's reputation for being a brilliant trickster. He was so sure it had to be a trap that he turned his entire army around and fled. From a guy with a musical instrument. That is the power of reputation.
So, think about your office. Your reputation is your shield against gossip, right? If you're known as someone who is super reliable and has integrity, nasty rumors just won't stick. It lets you deal with rivalries without getting dragged into the mud, and it can win debates for you before you even have to make your point. You have to protect it. It's everything.
Okay, so we've hit the big three: managing up with your boss, navigating the network of your peers, and mastering your own image. These are really the pillars of office politics. So after hearing all this, what do you do first? What's your first move?
Look, you don't have to go into work tomorrow and suddenly become this ruthless political mastermind. Just start watching. That's it. Start observing. See these dynamics in action in your own office. Who's trying to outshine the boss? Who's making bad alliances? Who commands a room with their reputation alone? Because just understanding how the game is played, well, that's always the first step to winning it.
Thanks for watching another futuristic journey here at Tam BytZ. If you love what we do, make sure to like, comment, and share this video. Stay connected. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for the latest updates and exclusive content. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an update. Your support keeps us going. You can also support our work on Ko-fi. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you in the next one.